welcome back to another video from the Game Time Sports podcast. And today we have another one of those short videos. We're trying to stay from 6 to 10 minutes. It might end up longer than that because there's a lot of things to talk about today. But as always, I'm Caden Simpson, joined with Jace Perrette, like we do every video. But we may have some special guests here in the future, so stay tuned. But today we have a lot. Free agency has started in the NFL a few days ago on Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. So we are basically I'm gonna read a list of all of the free agency signings here in the NFL, and then we will discuss a few of them. There's a lot, so we aren't gonna discuss every single one, but if there's other ones that we didn't talk about that you want us to discuss, we will or comment it and we'll discuss it. We will also be discussing a few more tomorrow in the podcast episode week 4 tomorrow. Big signings from Miami: Shaq Barrett, Jordan Poyer. And if we move down to the New England Patriots, they signed Jacoby Brissett and Austin Hooper. So Jace, if we take a look at the AFC East, what stands out from that division?
Caden, what I see is the Dolphins are trying to make moves, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to retain their defense that they had last year when it was playing well, because they had a solid defense when they were healthy, and Vic Fangio did a really nice job for most of the year. Obviously, at the end of the year, they were terrible, but that was mainly due to injuries and the fact that Vic Fangio was just kind of not calling so many as great plays as he was earlier in the year, and offenses kind of figured out what to do. But yeah, I feel like these signings are pretty all right. I don't think their defense will take a huge step back. But for the Bills, they're having a mediocre free agency. The Jets, they need to do a lot more. The Patriots are doing all right. We've heard rumors about Calvin Ridley. They're really pursuing him right now. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills, I want to see a lot more from them because they cut so many players, especially on defense, like star players on defense. And then you
Yeah.
have obviously a few players coming back from season-ending injuries last year. And so, I mean, I think they need to go out and, AFC North. So, Baltimore, big one. Derrick Henry has signed with them. That's the only one they've done so far. Re-signed a few guys, but Derrick Henry, it's a big one. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Cincinnati Bengals picked up Zach Moss. So that is good. And they signed Mike Gesicki and Geno Stone. So pretty good. Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson has joined them, and Patrick Queen. So
Mm.
insane right now. It's pretty good. I mean, for the Steelers, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Or actually, no, we're gonna talk about it right now. So, Jace, out of the AFC North, what do we see here?
Well, Caden, what we see here is the Steelers going all in on a playoff run. They want to go get that Lombardi championship, and we'll see if they can do it. But I'm not sure. I feel like Russell Wilson will be decent, surely better than Kenny Pickett. I mean, we know he's awful. I mean, ugh,
Yeah, yeah.
can't get much worse there. I think Kenny Pickett will certainly be a lot better. But yeah, I feel like the Ravens can't really do much. They're doing the best they can. The Bengals cap space struggles due to Joe Burrow's contract. We'll see where T. Higgins goes. We already know they've lost Joe Mixon. I feel like Zach Moss was a really nice signing. They also have Chase Brown, who's been solid so far in his NFL career. And with the Browns, they're not really doing much, but their team's stacked. You can't really do too much more. But yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from the AFC North right now, much more than the AFC East, I'll say.
Move on to the AFC South. The Houston Texans have had a busy few days. So they in free agency, they have signed Danielle Hunter. They also signed Jeff Okuda. And I know it was a trade, but this is also a big one. Joe Mixon has joined them from Cincinnati. And then Jacksonville, they signed Gabe Davis coming over from Buffalo, also signing wide receiver Devin Duvernay, the returner from Baltimore. And they're going to sign the Buffalo center Mitch Morse. and Darnell Savage, which is actually within the last 20 minutes. So that's a good signing for them. In Tennessee. Oh, Tennessee. They got Tony Pollard and they got a woozy from
Hito Uzie,
oh
great
yeah.
corner there.
Yes, from Cincinnati. And they signed a long snapper, Morgan Cox. So what is going on in the AFC South?
Well, with the AFC South, I'm looking at the Jaguars mainly. I feel like the Texans are doing what they expected. They're expected to go out and sign some free agents. They are. They're going to be great next year. The Colts, they're doing the most they can. They need to do a little bit more, but so far so good. Really not losing anyone bad. They did bring back Michael Pittman and Grover Stewart, but I will say this: the Jags have to build up on that O line. I don't know why they're going receivers so heavy. Yeah, your receiving core isn't anything spectacular due to some losses, but like that O line was awful. And the reason why they weren't in the playoffs last year, I think that's where you have to work on. And for Tennessee, they're not going to be winning many games next year. So not much to really talk about there.
On AFC West and the Kansas City Chiefs, they re-signed Chris Jones. That's a big one. We're going to talk about that. Probably we'll talk about that during the podcast tomorrow. So you better stay tuned for that. And they re-signed Drew Tranquill. And if we look at the Raiders, they they signed Gardner Minshew to a 2-year deal. And they all in a big one. They signed Christian Wilkins, defensive lineman from the Miami Dolphins. So he's gonna be paired up with Max Crosby. Might have to talk about that here in a second. In the Los Angeles Chargers, so Gus Edwards, the longtime Baltimore Raven, is heading over to Los Angeles. What do we see in the AFC West?
Well, really, we're seeing teams just kind of trying to retool. I mean, obviously, the Chiefs are really in on this three-peat. Will they do it? We don't know yet, but they're looking good so far this offseason. And the Raiders, I mean, Christian Wilkins is a really good signing. I'll like seeing him paired up with Max Crosby every game. And the Chargers, they cut Mike Williams today, but they've been doing all right so far. They really don't have much money because they give out a lot of bad contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I want to look specifically at the Raiders. I see Christian Wilkins signing, so putting him next, him and Max Crosby coming from the same side is a nightmare for
Oh
any
yeah,
quarterback.
you don't want to face that any day.
And they're trying to build this team to be able to stop the Chiefs, which they did it last year in one of their games, but I mean, still didn't really help them. But point is they're trying to stop Patrick Mahomes, and obviously Max Crosby couldn't really do it by himself. They give him help on that side. Oh my goodness. And Max Crosby's already one of the best defensive players in the game. You add another one of the best defensive players, and who knows? They are going to have a situation going on there. So, all right, NFC East. Dallas hasn't done anything. The Giants sign Drew Lock, Devin Singletary, Isaiah McKenzie, and they acquired Brian Burns. So a few big things going over there. And the Philadelphia Eagles, who I don't have very high hopes for next year, are making some acquisitions right now. Saquon Barkley is coming over, and they also signed CJ Gardner-Johnson, who was there the year they went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and he's coming back. Or no, excuse me. They picked up Bryce Huff, who was playing for the Jets last year. And the Washington Commanders are going to sign QB Marcus Mariota, running back Austin Eckler, tight end Zach Ertz, and a lot more. But those are the three big ones. What stands out to you in the NFC East?
But my main focus is on the Giants. They're going to have the best front seven in football next year. Kayvon Thibodeaux, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. No one is just going to have a good offensive line game against that. That's if they can stay healthy, that's easily a top 3 or 5 defense. But when your offense looks like Devin Singletary, horrible receivers, Daniel Jones, an old washed up Darren Waller, a horrible offensive line other than Andrew Thomas, I don't know what they do offensively. I mean, Brian Daboll is a great coach, but this could be his last year due to how bad their players are on offense, Caden?
Yeah, I mean, with him being an offensive guy, their offense shouldn't be as bad as it is.
No, it shouldn't.
really, well, not Jalen. Whenever Daniel Jones comes back next year, hopefully he can step up and play like he did a couple years ago. I mean, it wasn't like he was the best quarterback in the league, but he was a game manager. He took care of the football. He got them where they needed to be. And so if he comes back and does that, they should have a good chance. I mean, I haven't seen them really add to the weapons because they don't have very many weapons on
No,
offense. They need to add to that. So
they certainly do.
they certainly do not, or they do need to do that, but we'll see. All right. So moving over to the AFC North. So the Bears, they have made quite a few moves. DeAndre Swift has signed with them. DeAndre Swift help out that run game. If they keep Justin Fields, or even if they have Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift and Justin Fields would be absolutely incredible with their run ability. Run pass options would be almost unguardable with
Oh
how
yeah.
shifty both those guys are. And the Packers, big one in Green Bay, signing Josh Jacobs to replace Aaron Jones up there. But Minnesota, they're having a few struggles right now. They signed QB Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, running back, pretty good for them.
So for the Chicago Bears, they need to do more offensively. They need more weapons. Certainly, I mean, Darna or DJ Moore, excuse me, isn't going to cut it as him and Cole Kmet and nobody's as your pass catchers. I think you got to sign a couple other free agents there. Maybe get another running back. I mean, three can't hurt. You already got Khalil Herbert and Swift. Maybe try and get someone who would be a really good goal line back, and then beef up your line a bit. Maybe Tyron Smith. We'll see
We'll
what the
see. I
Bears
mean,
do.
the Bears
But
have a lot of money. That Bears run game could be pretty darn good if
oh
they
yeah,
if
it
they beef
really.
up that offensive line, and they don't have to sign anybody else at running back. Just keep Khalil Herbert and DeAndre Swift. You know what formations you could come out like create out of that, and crazy run plays and trick run plays and all this stuff you can come up with having all three of them in the backfield and having a good offensive line. I don't know. Not the bright. The future is very bright in Chicago.
Oh
But
yeah, it certainly is.
moving on, NFC South, the Falcons, two big signings for them. QB Kirk Cousins that we will discuss tomorrow in the main podcast episode, and Darnell Mooney. So adding that receiving core so we can connect with Drake London. Carolina signing Robert Hunt, Bryce Young, a clean pocket. He's going to step up and he will tear you apart. And Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay, really, they haven't signed anybody except for they brought back a few guys. I mean, they brought back Baker Mayfield. They brought back Mike Evans, Levante David, Jordan Whitehead. Oh, wait. Excuse me. Let me refrain. They have re-signed pretty much a lot of people, but Jordan Whitehead is coming back. He played most of his early career in Tampa Bay. Then he went to the Jets last year, had 3 picks in week 1, and now he's back. So the Winfield and Whitehead connection at safety is back in Tampa Bay. What does this mean for the AFC or NFC South?
I feel like the Falcons are pretty assertively the best team in the division now, roster wise, head coach wise. They're just better than everyone else. And Saints obviously not doing too much. I feel like Willie Gay certainly did deserve some more money. Panthers are having an interesting offseason, obviously traded for Deontay Johnson. I feel like that's going to work out really well. They need someone to get in space for Bryce Young. Deontay Johnson gets in space really well. They're going to help. That's going to help out their offense. I don't like the Brian Burns trade. Could trade a year ago for 2 first-round picks to the Rams. Stupid front office right there, man. But at least they're trying now. Robert Hunt, 5 years, 100 million should help out that awful O line. And for the Bucks, really just kind of keeping around the same core.
That core, I mean, we're in the Super Bowl with them when they won a few
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Like Mike Evans and
Mike
Levante
Evans.
David and Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. Like those guys were with them. And Baker Mayfield, he won a playoff game last year. And the Los Angeles Rams and guard Jonah Jackson and Darius Williams. So again, they are also adding to the offensive line. The 49ers, they signed edge Leonard Floyd, who spent last year in Buffalo, had a nice nice year there. And what do we see out of the West?
Yeah, the NFC West is just is not really an interesting division. Same with the 49ers. They did cut Eric Armstead, which I feel was probably a smart move cap wise. But then the Seahawks, really puzzling not having them re-sign anybody yet in free agency. I just think, or sign anyone, excuse me. It's just really puzzling to me why they aren't going out and getting players, because they got a really good defensive coach. If you waste him, that's going to be really bad for your team.
That is all the free agency signings we had to talk about today. Tomorrow in the actual podcast episode, we will have a few more to discuss. We will do that when we get there tomorrow. But this will be the end of the video. So as always, I am Caden Simpson, joined with Jace Perrett. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also follow us on all the social medias. It's all of them are Game Time Sports Podcast, purple logo. Our individual social medias have been on the screen the entire time. So if you miss them, that means you have to go back in the video. So that's it. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. Peace out.